Montana Territory, 1878. The unforgiving winter had finally released its grip on Coldwater Valley, leaving behind a landscape of tender green shoots pushing through soil still hard from frost. 24-year-old Samuel Zeller rode his chestnut gelding along the edge of the property he had spent 2 years transforming from wilderness into the beginnings of a cattle ranch. His youth was evident in the smooth planes of his face, though a light stubble had begun to form along his strong jawline after days on the range. The morning sun caught in his sandy brown hair as he surveyed the land that was both his pride and his prison. Sam had learned early that the frontier demanded everything and returned little. At 17, he had watched Comanche raiders cut down his parents at their Texas homestead. He had survived by pure chance, being away hunting when the attack came, only to return to smoking ruins and fresh graves to dig. Since then, he had built walls higher than any fence post he'd driven into Montana soil. His creed was simple: a man stands alone in this country. Connections meant vulnerability. Family meant something to lose. "Ain't that right, Buck?" he said to his horse, patting its muscled neck. The animal nickered in response. Animals are different. They don't expect promises you can't keep. His ranch hand, an older man named Jeb, had been pestering him to hire more help before the cattle drive to Fort Benton. "You need more hands, and you need something besides this ranch to come home to," Jeb had said just yesterday. "A man needs roots that go deeper than fence posts, Sam." Sam had merely nodded, unwilling to explain what he knew to be true, that the West was no place for tender feelings. Love was a luxury for people in cities back east, not for men carving life from wilderness with bloodied hands. The sound of gunshots cracked through the morning stillness. Sam tensed, hand moving to the Colt revolver at his hip. 3 shots in quick succession, not hunting fire. Someone was in trouble. Buck sensed his urgency, and together they thundered toward the source, following the narrow trail that wound through the pines toward the main road. As they emerged from the trees, Sam spotted an overturned wagon. A woman was crouched behind it, clutching a small pistol, while 2 mounted men circled like wolves. "Hand over the strongbox, lady," one of the men shouted, "and we'll leave you breathing." Sam assessed the situation in seconds. The woman was clearly alone, her wagon bearing the markings of the Wells Fargo company. A stagecoach messenger, caught by road agents. Without hesitation, Sam drew his Colt and fired a warning shot into the air. "That's far enough," he called out. 2 against 1, lady, doesn't seem sporting to me." The bandits wheeled around, startled by his appearance. One raised his pistol, but Sam was already firing again, the bullet knocking the man's hat clean off his head. The second bandit fired wildly, the shot going wide as Buck danced sideways. Sam's second shot found its mark in the shoulder of the first bandit. The man cried out, dropping his weapon. "Get out of here," Sam commanded, keeping his revolver trained on them. "And don't stop riding till you hit the Dakota Territory." The wounded man clutched his bleeding shoulder, hatred in his eyes, but his companion was already turning his horse around. "This ain't over," he spat before they both spurred their mounts and galloped away. Only when their dust trail had disappeared did Sam holster his weapon and approach the wagon. The woman slowly stood, her small pistol still raised defensively. "Ma'am," Sam said, tipping his hat. "Samuel Zeller. My ranch is just over that rise. Those men gone for now, but they might return with friends." She lowered her weapon slightly, revealing the most striking pair of blue eyes Sam had ever encountered. She was young, no more than 22, with honey blonde hair escaping from beneath her bonnet. Her traveling dress, though dusty from the ordeal, was of good quality, dark green wool that complemented her fair complexion. "Madeline Montgomery," she replied, her voice steady despite the circumstances. "I'm obliged for your assistance, Mr. Zeller, but I can manage." Sam glanced at the overturned wagon, its wheels splintered beyond repair, and the dead horse still in its traces. One of the bandits' bullets had found the poor animal. "Begging your pardon, Miss Montgomery, but you're a good 15 miles from Coldwater Town, with a broken wagon and no horse. Night comes quick in these mountains, and those road agents might return." She glanced at the dead horse, and for the first time, her composed expression faltered. "I was transporting bank documents to Fort Benton," she said. The regular messenger took ill. Sam dismounted, approaching carefully. "Let me help you salvage what's important, and we can ride to my ranch. Tomorrow, I can take you to town. Madeline looked at him warily. Why would you help me, Mr. Zeller? You don't know me. The question struck Sam as odd. Out here, you help strangers because tomorrow you might be the stranger needing help. But looking at her defensive posture, he sensed she carried burdens heavier than her strongbox. Because it's what decent folk do, he answered simply. And out here, decent folk are scarce enough that we have to look out for each other. Something in his words seemed to reassure her, though she maintained a careful distance as they gathered her belongings and secured the company strongbox. Sam helped her mount Buck, then took the reins and led them toward his property, keenly aware of the woman perched behind him. As they crested the hill revealing his ranch, a sturdy log house, barn, corral, and the beginnings of proper fencing around 200 acres, he felt a strange discomfort. For 2 years, no one but Jeb and occasional cowhands had seen his home. Now this woman would see it too, judge it perhaps, find it wanting compared to Eastern comforts. It's not much, he said gruffly. It's more than most have managed out here, she replied quietly. Inside, Jeb's eyebrows shot up at the sight of a woman in Sam's company, but wisely limited his comments to, "Coffee's hot, boss." Sam showed Madeline to the small guest room he'd built, but never used. Rest a spell. Supper's at sundown. She nodded, clutching her small traveling bag. Thank you, Mr. Zeller. I won't impose longer than necessary. Something in her tone, a practiced distance, a careful wall, resonated with Sam. He recognized the fortress of solitude because he'd built his own stone by stone. At supper, Jeb carried most of the conversation, sharing stories of the territory that made even Madeline smile occasionally. When he excused himself to check the horses, an awkward silence fell. How long have you been with Wells Fargo? Sam finally asked. 6 months, she answered, pushing food around her plate. Before that, I worked as a schoolteacher in Denver. Long way from Denver to here. Her eyes met his briefly. Sometimes distance is what's needed. Sam understood that too well. Running from something? Aren't we all? She countered. He conceded with a nod. Fair enough. Your business is your own. As is yours, she said, glancing around the cabin with its sparse furnishings. No photographs, no feminine touches, nothing to suggest permanence beyond necessity. Though it seems a large home for a man alone. Built it thinking I might expand operations. Hire more hands. He didn't mention the moments of weakness when he'd imagined more. A family perhaps, children's laughter. Foolish dreams that died quickly in the harsh light of reality. And have you? Expanded. Sam looked down at his plate. The land doesn't forgive mistakes. One bad winter, one dry summer, it can wipe out everything. Better not to risk more than you can stand to lose. I understand that philosophy quite well, Mr. Zeller. Something in her voice made him look up. For a moment, her careful composure slipped, revealing a weariness that matched his own. Some losses teach you not to risk again. The next morning, Sam found Madeline already awake, her belongings packed. She stood on his porch, watching the sunrise paint the distant mountains gold and crimson. You have a beautiful piece of land, she said without turning. It has its moments, he admitted, joining her at the railing. In Denver, you can't see the horizon, she continued. Buildings and people everywhere. I never thought I'd appreciate such emptiness. Emptiness has its advantages. No expectations to disappoint. She glanced at him then, studying his face. Is that why you're out here alone, Mr. Zeller? No expectations. The directness of her question caught him off guard. Most folks respected the unspoken code of the frontier. You didn't pry into another's past. Before he could respond, hoofbeats sounded on the trail. Sam's hand instinctively moved to his hip, but it was only the weekly mail rider. Sam, the rider called, trotting up. Got a telegram for Miss Montgomery. Town's been looking for her since yesterday when the stage didn't arrive. Madeline accepted the paper, her expression tightening as she read it. The Fort Benton bank manager, she explained. I need to complete my delivery urgently. Sam nodded. I'll saddle the horses. The ride to town was mostly silent, each lost in their thoughts. Sam couldn't help noticing how naturally she sat a horse, moving with the animal rather than against it. Not an Eastern lady then, despite her refined speech. In Coldwater, the Wells Fargo office buzzed with activity at their arrival. The station manager rushed out, relief evident on his face. Miss Montgomery, when you didn't arrive, we feared the worst. Road agents, she explained, dismounting gracefully. Mr. Zeller intervened. The manager turned to Sam with genuine gratitude. The company is in your debt, sir. Those documents are worth. Well, suffice to say, your assistance won't go unrecognized. Sam shifted uncomfortably. Just happened by. While Madeline reported to the manager, Sam waited outside, planning to ensure she had proper accommodations before returning to his ranch. The town made him uneasy. Too many people, too much noise, too many reminders of a world he'd chosen to leave behind. When she emerged, something had changed. Her professional mask was firmly back in place, but he caught tension in her shoulders. The company insists I continue to Fort Benton tomorrow, she said. They're arranging an armed escort. Sam nodded, disappointed for reasons he couldn't articulate. Then I'll bid you safe travels, Miss Montgomery. She extended her hand, formal and proper. Thank you for everything, Mr. Zeller. He took her hand, noting how small it felt in his calloused grip. Anyone would have done the same. No, she said quietly. They wouldn't have. As he turned to leave, the station manager called out. Zeller, a moment, please. Sam paused as the man hurried over, lowering his voice. Those road agents who attacked Miss Montgomery, they're part of the Logan gang. Been terrorizing company shipments for months. What of it? They don't leave witnesses, usually. And they don't give up easy. Miss Montgomery's escort tomorrow is 2 men. Against Logan's crew. He shook his head. Sam glanced back at Madeline, now speaking with the hotel proprietor. You telling me this why? Heard you rode with the Texas Rangers before coming north. Thought maybe you'd consider signing on as additional security. Company pays well. Sam frowned. His Ranger days were behind him, buried with the young man who'd believed justice could be served with a badge and determination. I've got a ranch to run. Just to Fort Benton and back. 3 days at most. Sam was about to refuse when he caught sight of Madeline again. Despite her composure, he recognized the look of someone surrounded, yet utterly alone. It was like glimpsing his own reflection. When do we leave? He heard himself asking. The caravan departed at dawn, Madeline in the new stagecoach, Sam and 2 company guards riding alongside. The first day passed uneventfully, but Sam noticed signs along the trail that made the hair on his neck stand up. Fresh horse droppings off the main road. Cigarette butts that hadn't weathered a full day's exposure. They were being followed. That night at camp, he quietly alerted the other guards. They were seasoned men, but their eyes widened at his assessment. Logan's got at least 8 riders, one whispered. If they hit us all at once. They won't, Sam replied. Too smart for that. They'll wait for terrain that favors them. Madeline approached their hushed conversation, her expression making it clear she'd overheard. You think they'll attack tomorrow? She stated rather than asked. Sam saw no point in lying. The past 5 miles north would be my guess. Narrow trail, high rocks on either side. Instead of fear, determination flashed in her eyes. Then we should prepare. To his surprise, she revealed herself quite knowledgeable about firearms, checking and loading a shotgun with practiced ease. When he raised an eyebrow, she simply said, My father believed women should know how to defend themselves. Wise man. He was, she said softly, until a bullet took him during a bank robbery in Denver. He was just a customer, in the wrong place at the wrong time. The piece of her past, offered without prompting, created a small crack in the wall between them. My parents were killed by raiders, Sam found himself saying. Our homestead in Texas. She met his gaze, recognition passing between them. The knowledge of how quickly life can shatter, leaving only sharp edges. Is that why you live alone on your ranch, Mr. Zeller? She asked. Because you lost them? The question probed too close to truths he rarely acknowledged. I live alone because it's simpler. No one to worry about, no one to fail, and no one to lose, she added quietly. He couldn't deny it. What about you? Wells Fargo seems a dangerous occupation for someone avoiding loss. A sad smile touched her lips. After my father, I learned that safety is an illusion. At least in this job, I know the dangers I face. Unlike trusting people, Sam suggested. Precisely. She looked toward the darkness beyond their campfire. People are unpredictable. They make promises they can't keep, offer love they don't truly feel. Something in her words suggested experiences beyond her father's death. Sounds like someone taught you that lesson the hard way. She stiffened slightly. A fiancé, in Denver. He decided a schoolteacher's salary wasn't worth waiting for when a banker's daughter showed interest. I discovered his change of heart at a town social, watching him propose to her. The betrayal in her story stirred an unexpected anger in Sam. Man sounds like a fool. A practical fool, she corrected. Love doesn't put food on the table or build a future. I understand that now. Sam wanted to argue, but found he couldn't. Hadn't he told himself the same thing countless times? Get some rest, he said instead. Tomorrow will come early. As predicted, the Logan gang struck at the pass. 8 riders emerged from the rocks, guns blazing. Sam had anticipated the ambush, positioning himself where he could provide covering fire while the other guards protected the stage. What he hadn't anticipated was Madeline joining the fight, her shotgun dropping one attacker with deadly accuracy. The battle was fierce but brief. The element of surprise lost. The gang retreated after losing 3 men. As dust settled, Sam found Madeline leaning against the stagecoach, her face pale but composed as she reloaded her weapon. "You're bleeding," she said, nodding toward his arm. Sam glanced down, surprised to see blood soaking his sleeve. The adrenaline had masked the pain of a bullet graze. "It's nothing." She set down her shotgun. "Let me see." Her touch was gentle as she examined the wound, cleaned it with water from her canteen, and bandaged it with strips torn from her petticoat. The intimacy of the moment, her hands on his skin, her face close enough to count the light freckles across her nose, created a tension neither acknowledged. "You've done this before," he observed. "My father taught me basic doctoring too," she replied, securing the bandage. "Though I had more practice after volunteering at a field hospital during the war. I was young, but they needed every pair of hands." The revelation of another layer to this complex woman intrigued Sam. She was so different from the frontier women he occasionally encountered, not hardened exactly, but containing depths of strength and experience beneath her proper exterior. "Thank you," he said as she finished. She met his eyes briefly. "We help each other out here. Isn't that what you said?" They reached Fort Benton the following day without further incident. The bank manager was effusive in his gratitude, insisting on hosting a dinner for their safe arrival. Sam found himself uncomfortably fitted in his one good shirt, seated beside Madeline at the town's finest restaurant. "You clean up well, Mr. Zeller," she remarked, a hint of teasing in her voice. "Feel like a bear in a china shop," he admitted, tugging at his collar. She smiled, a genuine smile that transformed her face and stirred something long dormant in his chest. "Yet you suffer it anyway." What? The honest answer, because she had asked him to accompany her, felt too revealing. "Free steak dinner," he said instead. "Ranch cooking doesn't compare." "Is that all?" Her eyes held his, challenging. Before he could respond, the bank manager clinked his glass for attention, offering a toast to their bravery and Madeline's dedication. "In fact," he concluded, "I'm authorized to offer Miss Montgomery a permanent position here in Fort Benton. We need someone of her caliber." Congratulations echoed around the table. Sam forced a smile, even as he felt a strange hollowness expand in his chest. Of course she would take the position. It was safer than courier work, more respectable, a chance to put down roots in a growing town. Later, walking her back to her hotel, an awkward silence hung between them. "Congratulations on the position," Sam finally said. "Fort Benton's a fine town." "I haven't accepted yet," she replied. Hope flared briefly before common sense extinguished it. "Be foolish not to. Safe work, good pay, respectable folks." She stopped walking, turning to face him in the moonlight. "Is that what you think I want? Safety and respectability? Don't most people? I thought perhaps you of all people would understand." Disappointment colored her voice. "I don't fear danger, Samuel. I fear." When she didn't continue, he prompted, "What?" "Investing in something, someone, only to discover it was built on shifting sand." She resumed walking. "Good night, Mr. Zeller. The stage returns to Coldwater tomorrow if you wish to join me." Sam barely slept, his thoughts circling around Madeline's words and the emotions they had stirred. By dawn, he had made his decision. The stagecoach was preparing to depart when he approached Madeline on the platform. "I need to get back to my ranch," he said without preamble. Something flickered in her eyes, disappointment, perhaps, but she nodded politely. "Of course. Thank you again for your protection, Mr. Zeller. Thing is," he continued, the words feeling awkward in his mouth, "spring roundup starts next week. Could use an extra hand at the house while the men and I are working cattle." She tilted her head, studying him. Are you offering me employment, Mr. Zeller? Temporary, he clarified quickly. Just until you decide about Fort Benton. Pays fair, and you'd have your own room. Why would you offer this? The directness of her question demanded honesty. Because I'm not ready to say goodbye, he admitted. And I think maybe you aren't either. Something softened in her expression. No, she said quietly. I don't believe I am. The next 2 weeks transformed Sam's ranch. Madeline brought order to the chaos of his home, organizing supplies, preparing meals that made his cowhands actually look forward to returning from the range, and even establishing a small kitchen garden. More than that, she brought conversation and laughter back into rooms that had known only utilitarian silence. Each evening, they would sit on the porch, watching darkness gather over the mountains, sharing pieces of their past that had previously been too painful to voice. He told her about his years with the Rangers, hunting men across the Texas borderlands until violence and vengeance had hollowed him out. She spoke of her childhood in Kansas, her brief teaching career, and the fiancé whose betrayal had convinced her that love was a luxury she couldn't afford to believe in. Thomas said he loved me, promised we would build a life together, she explained one evening, her voice steady though her hands trembled slightly. Then I watched him propose to a woman whose father owned half the businesses in Denver. When I confronted him later, he said I should understand the practical considerations. Sam's jaw tightened. Man like that doesn't deserve the title. Perhaps he was simply being realistic, she said. Love doesn't keep you warm or fed. That's why you took the Wells Fargo job. To keep warm and fed. She smiled faintly. To prove I didn't need anyone. That I could face danger rather than hide from it. And did you? Prove it. I proved I could survive, she said after a moment. But surviving isn't living, is it? The question lingered between them, challenging Sam's own choices. His ranch was surviving, not thriving. His life was existence, not living. And for the first time in years, that felt insufficient. As spring roundup concluded, Sam found reasons to delay Madeline's departure. A broken fence that meant he couldn't escort her to town, a promised fishing expedition to his favorite mountain lake, the approaching summer fair in Coldwater that she simply must experience. To his surprise and secret joy, she found her own reasons to stay. A letter to write to Fort Benton declining their offer, curtains to sew for windows long left bare, recipes that required testing with ingredients from his neglected garden. They were building something neither had planned, creating a shared life through small daily choices rather than grand declarations. Sam found himself rising earlier, working with renewed purpose, making improvements to the ranch he had previously deemed unnecessary. A proper front gate, flower boxes beneath the windows, a comfortable chair on the porch sized for Madeline's smaller frame. The walls he had built around his heart were crumbling, stone by stone, with every smile she gave him, every brush of hands as they worked side by side, every evening conversation that stretched later into the night. Yet neither spoke of what was happening between them, as if naming it might break the spell. Until the telegram arrived. Sam had ridden into town for supplies, returning to find Madeline on the porch, her face pale, a paper clutched in her hand. What's wrong? He asked, dismounting quickly. Wells Fargo, she said, her voice strained. The Logan gang robbed another stagecoach. They're asking me to testify at the trial of the men we captured. In Helena. Relief washed through him. That all? When do they need you there? Next week. She met his eyes. The company has also offered me a position in their Helena office. Permanent. The word hung in the air between them. Permanent. Something neither had dared discuss. I see, Sam said carefully. Helena's a fine city. Good opportunity. Yes. When would you leave? Tomorrow's stage. She looked away. I should prepare. Sam nodded, unable to find words for the hollowness expanding inside him. He had known this was temporary. They both had. Pretending otherwise had been foolishness. That evening, their usual easy conversation was replaced by painful silence. Sam watched Madeline move about the kitchen, memorizing details he had taken for granted. The way she tucked a strand of hair behind her ear when concentrating, how she hummed softly while working, the graceful efficiency of her movements. After dinner, they sat on the porch as usual, watching the sunset paint the mountains in fading glory. I never thanked you, Madeline said suddenly. For what? For showing me a different kind of life. One I didn't think existed anymore. Sam swallowed the ache in his throat. Wasn't much. Just a ranch. She turned to him, moonlight silvering her features. It wasn't the ranch, Samuel. It was you. Your decency. Your strength. The way you built this place with nothing but determination and hard work. Won't be the same without you, he admitted. Got used to having you around. Is that all it was? She asked softly. Getting used to me? The question demanded truth, even if that truth might shatter him. No, he said. It was more. Is more. Then why haven't you asked me to stay? Her voice held no accusation, only genuine confusion. The question struck him like a physical blow. Because I have nothing to offer you, Madeline. A half-built ranch that might fail with one bad season. A man who doesn't know if he remembers how to love properly. Do you think I care about that? She asked. I was engaged to a wealthy man who saw me as nothing but a convenient accessory. What you offer is real, hard work, honest living, someone who sees me truly. Hope flared in his chest, but fear followed close behind. The Logan gang is still out there. Men I crossed as a ranger too. Being with me brings danger. I don't need protecting, Samuel. I need partnership. And if I fail, if this, us, turns out to be another broken promise. She reached for his hand, her touch sending warmth through his entire body. That's the risk of living instead of just surviving, isn't it? He looked down at their joined hands. I don't know if I remember how. Then let me show you, she whispered, echoing words he had once spoken to her. Their first kiss was tentative, a question asked and answered in the touch of lips and the gentle pressure of hands drawing each other closer. When they parted, Sam rested his forehead against hers, breathing in the scent of lavender and home. Stay, he said simply. Not for a job or because it's practical. Stay because I'm falling in love with you, Madeline Montgomery, and I don't want to do this life without you anymore. Tears glistened in her eyes. I can't be loved, she whispered, voicing the fear that had driven her since Denver. I'll disappoint you somehow. I'll prove unworthy. Then let me show you how, he replied, cupping her face gently. Let me show you that love isn't about being worthy. It's about finding someone whose broken pieces fit with yours to make something stronger. The Helena courtroom was packed when Samuel and Madeline entered 3 days later. She testified with clear-eyed courage about the stagecoach attack, identifying the captured gang members without hesitation. When the prosecutor asked about her current occupation, she smiled. I'm helping establish the first proper school in Coldwater Valley, she answered proudly. The children there deserve education, even on the frontier. Outside the courthouse, Sam waited with 2 horses. Ready to go home? He asked, helping her mount. Home, she repeated, testing the word. Yes, I believe I am. As they rode out of Helena, Sam reached across to take her hand. The gold band he had purchased that morning gleamed on her finger, a promise made and accepted over breakfast in a small hotel dining room. Still scared, he asked. She considered the question seriously. Yes, she admitted, but not of loving you. I'm scared of how much I would miss if I let fear keep me from living. Sam smiled, understanding exactly what she meant. Then we'll be scared together. And brave together, too. 6 months later, the Zeller Ranch hosted the first wedding in Coldwater Valley history. The house Sam had built too large for one man now bustled with life. Madeline's schoolroom in the converted barn, her books lining shelves once empty, her laughter filling spaces long silent. As winter settled over the mountains, they sat before the fireplace in their home, Madeline's head resting on Sam's shoulder, his hand gently caressing the slight swell of her belly where their child grew. Do you ever miss it? He asked. The excitement of Wells Fargo? The opportunities in Fort Benton or Helena? She looked up at him, love evident in every feature. Not for a moment. This is where I belong. A half-built ranch with a reformed gunfighter, he teased. No, she corrected gently. A home with the man who showed me how to be loved, and how to love in return. Outside, snow began to fall, blanketing the ranch in pristine white. But inside, warmth and life flourished, proof that even on the unforgiving frontier, love could take root and grow, transforming survival into living, solitude into family, and 2 wounded souls into something whole and beautiful.